Tradition. You can't buy it. It's earned the hard way over decades and eras. On the field, on the road, in the mud. With guts and with grit, and firm belief that today could be our day. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is back. Still alive, still kicking, the oldest prize in American soccer. 96 teams, part-timers to major leaguers. Survive and move on, lose and you go home. So we call all underdogs, dreamers and believers. And we ask you again, one simple question. Are you up for the cup?
It's round 2 of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup from Breese-Stevens Field in Madison, Wisconsin. It's FC Tulsa out of USL Championship, paying a visit up north to take on the host, Forward Madison FC. Alongside Eric Dobransky, I'm Josh Appel. Thanks so much for spending part of your Wednesday night with us as we take a look at our club profiles tonight. Forward Madison making their 5th U.S. Open Cup appearance, trying to advance to the 3rd round for the 3rd time in club history. They have taken down a Division II team before. They're 1-1 in these scenarios. For FC Tulsa, their 9th appearance, coming off their best finish ever in this tournament a year ago. They have been victim to a cup set. As you can see their record versus Division III. Here's how the clubs got here to this point. Forward Madison was locked in a relatively tight one until this moment, a red card given.
And both these matches were predicated on red cards, both of them seeing red cards different points of the match. And for Forward Madison, it was 1-1 with 4 goals coming after the 73rd minute. Munjoma having the game winner, but Galindrez with the penalty and 2 goals. And then same for FC Tulsa, was in a tight match. A lot of 1-0 matches for FC Tulsa this season. A late red card kind of dictated the tempo of that game, and then a late penalty, a handball here. And what we've come to expect this season so far is a late Taylor Calhera goal, 1-0, a collective defensive performance from FC Tulsa.
The 22-year-old Calhera, he turns 23 later this month. You saw he scored the winner in round 1 against Tulsa Athletic in the 84th minute. He also scored the winner in their last league match in the 87th minute, so he has a flair for the dramatic. Here's how the two sides line up tonight.
And Josh, it's going to be about winning individual battles here early on, because those individual battles will turn into a collective performance that'll come to define this matchup, the ebbs and flows, who can take momentum and carry it throughout. And I think a lot of the times, if you can score early, you set that pace and you make the opponent adjust, and that's something that both these sides are going to look to do.
Forward Madison in the light colored, the pink. FC Tulsa in the black, and we're underway in round 2 of the Open Cup. Thanks so much for being with us. FC Tulsa comes in with a USL Championship record of 3 wins, 1 loss, no ties. If you're trying to score against them, good luck. They've played 5 matches, including the Open Cup, and have conceded just 1 goal. They have 4 clean sheets to their ledger so far in 2025.
And it's that adage that defense travels. You go on the road, if you play collective defensively, you're tough to break down. You don't beat yourself. And that's something for FC Tulsa and Luke Spencer. His team is getting an early reputation for being very difficult to play against and very difficult to break down. And that's something that, especially in these single game eliminations, it becomes so important, because you don't know what kind of rhythm you're going to get into early on in the ball. You're going to take what the game gives you, but defensively, you can be stout without the ball. You can be secure and disciplined and make sure your opponent isn't taking the space that they want. And that's something that Luke Spencer's group's going to want to do tonight on the road.
Spencer, in his first year as the head coach for FC Tulsa, was on the staff last year, but the 2-time USL Cup champion with Louisville City, former USL Final MVP. He has some experience as a player in this tournament. He's part of the Louisville City team that went to the quarterfinal in 2018. That run included a win over New England Revolution. It was Lou City's first win over an MLS side. And his tenure as a head coach has gotten off to a fantastic start. He was named to the USL Team of the Week as the coach in Week 4. He was on that Team of the Week along with Arthur Rogers, the starters on his back line. Rogers selected to the Team of the Week for the second time this season. They're the only team in USL Championship that has been represented on the Team of the Week each of the first 4. Time for their best start in club history. This one is punched out by Owen Finnerty. They're going to get a foul on FC Tulsa as well. Finnerty making his first appearance for forward Madison. Take one more look. That ball that was flicked on.
Good decisive play by Finnerty. Something that you want to see, especially for a goalkeeper making their first start, because you're going to see a lot of balls pelted in and around your box. Make sure that they're testing the footwork, the ability to maneuver through traffic. That's something that you're going to see FC Tulsa do a lot of. And I'm not saying they're going to force it, but you're definitely going to put some of these set pieces, free kicks, corners, right in and around and test him early.
Finnerty, last 2 seasons in MLS Next Pro with Inter Miami 2. Fell yet last night to Miami FC in this tournament. They're still, forward Madison is, waiting on the return of their starting keeper, Vern Shipman, dealing with a back injury, still trying to work him back in. Wallace Lapsley has gotten the bulk of the action in the early going for forward Madison so far. Mac Laser, the head coach of forward Madison in his 3rd season. The USL Championship title with Real Monarchs all the way back in 2019. And they're coming off of a season in which they reached the postseason for the first time since 2019 right here in forward Madison. Last year they averaged over 1.5 a game at home. Interesting matchup. Certainly tough for FC Tulsa to come on the road. If you're forward Madison, you're glad that you're having this match here because it is an incredibly difficult matchup.
And that forward Madison coming off a difficult road trip as well from their match against Richmond Kickers. That 2-1 win.
Given away. FC Tulsa trying to get something going. Out in front, it's flicked towards goal, and somehow forward Madison able to deal with it. Khalil El-Medkar is bearing down and threatening.
And crucial intervention here after the giveaway, and that's something that forward Madison's going to have to be careful with, is limiting some of those mistakes out of the back, not giving FC Tulsa easy looks at goal. Obviously, tremendous commitment to get back behind that ball and force and limit only to a corner. Just as I mentioned with the free kick, you're going to see this travel inside the 6-yard box.
First corner of the match. Here it comes. Bit too long there. And balls around, and now forward Madison able to get the clear. And we talk about the defensive prowess of FC Tulsa. At the same time, they have really struggled to put the ball in the back of the net. But how they, I'm sure, would look at it, the opportunities have certainly been there for FC Tulsa.
Chance creation, and that's what Luke Spencer talked about, was continuing to upgrade those chances and obviously the execution portion of it. So, but felt good about where his team was trending, and that's something where you talked about the defensive structure of FC Tulsa, only conceding the 1 goal. All of their matches have been 1-0. So, going through the Open Cup, obviously playing a midweek game, bouncing through the regular season as well, you're going to want to start kind of building that momentum where you're not only creating chances, but you're starting to separate yourself. Yeah. Because defensively you're going to give yourself a tremendous opportunity to get results. And typically offensively, that's the last piece of the puzzle that comes. Obviously defensive, that is an ever-changing and an ever-evolving picture. But the attacking side, the lack of space and the timing that you need to be fluid and be multidimensional, kind of that cohesiveness that starts to kind of bring itself to life as you enter some weeks into the match, weeks into the season, sorry.
Mail comes to the near side. Played through. Chance early for forward Madison. And then a massive save on Garrett McLaughlin by Brian Dowd. So each team with a point-blank opportunity in the first 7 minutes.
And a massive save here. And I was just about to talk about continuing for FC Tulsa to limit some of the loud opportunities that forward Madison is looking to create, because when you're playing a championship side, you know that you're going to create a handful of quality looks, and can you convert them? And there was a loud chance.
So a corner here coming for forward Madison, and it's worth pointing out, Eric, Delence Pierre, starting center back tonight, is making his first start with FC Tulsa as the corner is whipped in, nobody home in pink. And it's played out for a throw. Normally Sissoko is the starting center back. He started all 4 games in league play, but it's the USL champion with Colorado Springs from last year, Delence Pierre. He's the one who got beat to the inside.
I'm never saying you want to necessarily start that way, but sometimes those early wake-up calls kind of fine-tune and tighten up some of those, the shifting, the support, the communication. You kind of get off the hook. Obviously, massive save by Brian Dowd, but it kind of just definitely makes you communicate and sharpen up a bit here early.
On the flip side, though, if you're forward Madison and you're staring down the barrel of the best defensive team in USL Championship through a month, and you let an opportunity like that go through the wayside, who knows how many more they can get
100%.
the rest of this match. Clean takeaway there. Now Medcar, pressure from behind, and forward Madison is right back on it. Pop back into the area, contact in the penalty area, then sent on goal, down the save, and it goes wide for a corner. A lot of bodies flying around everywhere. Garrett McLaughlin and Devin Boyce were in the area. And it's just down for a corner.
And this is an excellent spell from forward Madison. I mean, we're talking about them taking their chances and possibly limiting chances, but they have had 2 big opportunities. Brian Dowd just up to the task.
Here it comes towards the back post, punched away by Dowd.
What an early test and an onslaught from forward Madison. But to your point earlier, sometimes when you have some of those bigger chances, you're going to build confidence regardless, because you're going to feel like you can get in behind. You feel like the movement is creating some of the space that you were looking to exploit going into the match. But you definitely want to reward yourself. And from those 2 chances, you got to feel like you should have buried at least one of them. But terrific start for forward Madison.
Yeah, can't ask for a better one here at home. Lamar Batista went down, late whistle, but seems to be a good call. Segrist, who scored the game-winning goal against Tampa Bay Rowdies, 73rd minute. Second win of the year for FC Tulsa. He's in the starting 11 for the first time this year as well. Came on as a sub in all 4 league matches. Serrato. Well played by Mail. Colley. From behind, Boyce is all over him. Boyce a dangerous player in his own right. Pierre for Segrist. Medcar back for Segrist. Good combo play here. Medcar back towards the middle. Edge of the 18, it's left for Calhera. That was Lukic fumbling around with it. And that draws the whistle.
You can see FC Tulsa just wanted that ball to continue across the face of the 18. It's caught under the feet of Lukic, and then let forward Madison out of their own end with the foul there. Both these teams expressing and displaying some explosive moments on the ball. And that's what you get with a lot of these unique matchups. You get two teams that are just starting regular season play, the midweek match, obviously the single elimination setup, the aspirations of making a run in the US Open Cup, advancing the next round, and you don't always know your opponent's setup. You see the handball by Kahera. And this is where that first 15, 20 minutes, there's a feeling out process, and you know there's gonna be a punch, and there's gonna have to be a counter punch.
So far forward, Madison has been the better side in the first 13 minutes of this match. FC Tulsa had the one opportunity early, and outside of that, it's a small chunk of this first half, but again, it's the start if you're forward Madison that you want if you're going to pull off this cup set.
Well, and I think forward Madison is exposing the space central right now, and FC Tulsa is playing in those half spaces and those wide areas.
Trying to service one in, couldn't. Nico Brown has to go to a knee to tie his shoe. Ill opportune time for that to happen.
I was gonna say not exactly the moment in the final third.
For Madison, a 5-1 W in round one of the Open Cup over Duluth FC. Took them 39 minutes to break through. As we pointed out in the Open, they eventually went up a man. The floodgates opened after that. This one crossed towards the back post. Boyce tried to flick it back towards goal, and Dowd falls on it.
We touched on the performance of Galindres, but Boyce, that service right there, he had 3 assists in that matchup.
Yeah, he's been a great player for forward Madison. Now in his second season, was an all-league first-team player last year in League One. 6 goals, 4 assists. Still a forward Madison team that has not reached their final form, not only in their style, but in personnel. Has had to work back to get healthy. I mentioned earlier that starts with their goalkeeper, Bern Shipman. Owen Dom, the former Lou City. Throw in for FC Tulsa.
Always difficult when you're navigating the injuries, especially in a crucial time in a match like this, where you have to really take into perspective the importance of wanting to advance and put your best 11 out there and really go at FC Tulsa, but also balancing your ambitions in the regular season and in League One. And I think that's something where you continue to see it throughout the Open Cup, is some of these teams having to make those difficult decisions. But it also, just like the Open Cup tournament itself, it renders itself for us to continue to see the expansive talent and depth that we have throughout this country and throughout the leagues.
Look at last night, AV Alta taking down LAFC 2. An exciting match there at the end. We have a handful of cup sets we've already seen in this tournament. Tulsa keeps it alive on this end. And finally, forward Madison able to clear. Siegrist retreats.
Yeah, right now, forward Madison, 3 shots and 3 shots on target.
Yeah.
So talk about being efficient and effective. Obviously no goals to show for it, but obviously that speaks volumes to the awareness and the saves of Brian Dowd.
Put into the area, headed away, and that, let's see, is that a corner or a throw-in? It's right by that flag, couldn't tell from our angle. Looks to be like they're setting up for a corner. I think they want us to feel the noise. So it will be a throw-in, not a corner. A long throw-in. Bouncing out in front. Oh, just over the bar. Nearly had FC Tulsa on top. That was Marco Serrato with that left foot. Ooh.
Just that added element when you have the ability to present a long throw every time you have a throw in the attacking third, just poses so many issues and challenges to the opponent. It's defending a set piece every time, and you know that you're going to have help in terms of getting a glancing touch to help it along. So it just presents so many things that you've got to be aware of.
Nearly a bad miscommunication there by Owen Finnerty, who again is making his first appearance here. They just signed him after the first regular season game, so you got to wonder, as this ball comes all the way through, put out in front, and FC Tulsa off to a great start. Owen Dom finds Khalil El-Medkar, but the flag was up for offside. That won't count. FC Tulsa pleading its case.
That seems late.
Very late.
I mean, they were clearly, FC Tulsa was clearly going to that side in celebration. And obviously forward Madison was appealing for an offside as well.
Ooh. Where is the offside?
Looked like Mayo was that last player, and I'm not. And it looked like sideline official making that determination. Yeah. Okay. I thought Mayo was a little deeper than he was, and it does look like he was.
Unfortunate break for FC Tulsa. How can FC Tulsa take a deep breath and reset? Goal taken off the board. And towards the back post and over everything.
You have to like the early commitment by forward Madison to get numbers in and around the box. They've done it in a variety of different ways. They obviously you saw the service clipped in, but they've done it with link-up play. They've done it with services. They've done it with overlapping runs, the ability to interchange and be adaptable in what they're presenting in the final third. But you got to believe that FC Tulsa is going to continue to build into this match.
Calhera tracks it down. Former MLS Next Pro stud fires it in front. That one will count. It's Owen Dom off the feed from Calhera. We wanted to know how FC Tulsa would respond, and they fire right back and take the 1-0 lead.
And it starts with a subtle ball played into this flank, and then followed up with the patience and composure by Taylor Calhera. Just commands so much attention. This subtle play into the flank. Taylor Calhera drives this at the end line, and the awareness to know that Owen Dom is coming in and trailing late. And then a lot of credit to the surrounding runs, because those runs occupied a number of important defenders from forward Madison, allowing that space to become available. Terrific response from FC Tulsa after that goal was just taken back a few minutes ago, and then absorbing some massive opportunities from forward Madison early on.
Already know how difficult FC Tulsa is to play against. Now you fall behind, and they get to play with a lead and protect the lead. Again, 4 clean sheets in 5 matches across Open Cup and USL Championship League play. Just 1 goal conceded in the 5 total matches. It's pretty insane what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's not something, I don't want to say that it's unheard of, and it's, you just don't see it a lot. A team with a new coach, obviously a lot of new faces, obviously some familiarity as well, and they just come ripping out of the gates and playing so solid defensively, and I say that in terms of what collective efforts have to be made to play that well defensively, and on Friday picking up their first ever win as an organization against Sacramento Republic in league play. And that is a Sacramento Republic team that offensively you would think have got all the firepower to cause a lot of problems.
As you mentioned, if FC Tulsa can start putting home their chances,
yep.
The team that missed the postseason last year might not miss it this year.
Yeah, you talk to a lot of coaches and a lot of players that have been around the league, and at various levels, they'll always tell you that the teams that are the most successful are those that are balanced and explosive in both boxes. So the ability to absorb and come up with big plays when you need to in the defensive box, we've seen that from Brian Dowd with the saves that he's already had to make early on, and then not only in the chance creation, but the chance conversion in the attacking side in the offensive box.
How about the start to the career for FC Tulsa for Taylor Calhera? Turns 23 later this month. Scored the winner in round 1. Scored the winner against Sacramento in the 87th. And a nifty play by Owen Dom. First goal tonight. This is out for a corner for Ford Madison.
And I think a lot of people from the outside, and talking about USL Championship, the way that the moves that FC Tulsa made, I think everybody was excited about the overall roster, but to the point we continue to make, they were wondering where the goals were going to come from.
Yep.
And Taylor Calhera has coming into form and just playing at a high clip. FC Tulsa is going to have to defend this corner.
Calhera, MLS Next Pro best 11 last year. This is punched out by Dowd. Flicked back in. I believe the flag came up for offside. The start defensively for FC Tulsa, all the more impressive when you consider the fact that they replaced their 2 starting center backs from last season, and they brought in new personnel this year. Lamar Batista, one of them, Sissoko, another. Arthur Rogers is in his 2nd season with FC Tulsa, but Delence Pierre in his 1st season here as well. There's a lot of new faces on that back line. And I would say to this point, they fit in well.
Yeah, it's become something for FC Tulsa, and albeit it's early on, but a lot of the indication here early has been the acceptance of roles and responsibilities on both sides of the ball, but mainly defensively, and then the relationships that these players have built in such a short time through preseason, through training. It just showcases how intentional this group has been with building those relationships and building that collaboration and that ability to problem solve.
Coughlin plays to the outside. The cross was deflected and then put on frame by Garrett McLaughlin. And it's handled by Brian Dowd, who was the 6th overall pick in the 2024 MLS Super Draft. On loan with FC Tulsa this year.
And in no way is Forward Madison going away quietly. They might have conceded first, but they have had the bigger and the more sustained chances thus far. You know, the goal for FC Tulsa, but Forward Madison has done what Sacramento Republic was not able to do on Friday night, which was create chances, but also have those chances lead to chances on goal. Sacramento Republic, the 15 shots, none on frame, none testing FC Tulsa, and that's something, again, for FC Tulsa defensively, the ability to bend but not break. You know that you're going to give up chances, but limiting them when it comes into your 18-yard box. But for right now, forward Madison is still asking a lot of difficult questions of Brian Dowd in this back line for FC Tulsa. And obviously it starts higher up the pitch as well. The pressure, the presence in terms of the ability to make the next ball predictable. And forward Madison is doing what they were looking to accomplish here early on. I know not being down a goal, but the fluidity and the flexibility that they're playing with.
Some room now. Brown. He had Galindrez making a run down the middle and elected to try for goal and missed everything.
What a ball in here, and that's where you're unbalancing FC Tulsa with the ability to climb the field and present them numbers that they haven't seen here early on. And it almost looks like Brown could have used one extra driving touch and then maybe pulled that ball back for one of his teammates. That angle was going to be very difficult to beat Brian Dowd. One of the few chances for forward Madison that has not ended up on target.
Batista and Boyce collide. That fence is very close to the field of play, that touch line. This isn't hockey. We're not throwing anybody into the boards over here, although it kind of looked like it there. 21st minute goal from Owen Dom. His first in 2025, assisted by Taylor Calhera. How would you grade the response by forward Madison since giving up the goal now about 8 minutes ago?
I would say positive, and I would dare to say they would agree in terms of the ability to play front-footed, the ability to be dynamic and decisive in what their role and responsibilities on the ball, but also the off-the-ball movement has been terrific. You could see that they're pushing FC Tulsa back into their own 18-yard box quite quickly in terms of the ability to climb and occupy that space.
Souza trying to get there, he does. For Boyce. Boyce collided with Souza. They trade. Boyce whips it in. Nobody home in pink. Serrato gets it away, but stepping up. Keep it alive. It was Krull, now he plays to the outside for Brown. Brown whistles it high.
And that's what forward Madison is missing, is just final execution. They're just missing that final piece, whether it's the pass, whether it's the shot. You have to enjoy how excited and energetic they are on the ball. You can just see the shape, the distances they have from each other, the collective numbers that they have around. Brown putting that one over the crossbar. Who had a chance moments ago that he put wide past Brian Dowd.
That's out for a goal kick, and they do have guys who have the ability to put the ball in the back of the net. Galindrez, of course, had the brace in round one. Garrett McLaughlin's the second highest goal scorer in League One history. Derek Gebhard, who's available for selection tonight, but obviously has not come on yet. He's a talented scorer. Elmedkar gets behind. Elmedkar slides it through. And FC Tulsa comfortably in front a half hour in. He had one taken off the board earlier. This one counts for him.
And celebrating in the same corner. With superb awareness from FC Tulsa all around. Their ability to play through lines. Starts with a big ball. Ability to bring this ball across midfield. just this slipped ball and the ability to play in between defenders, but the composure to tuck this away for Elmedkar is the crucial piece there at the end.
Now the task gets really tall for forward Madison. We'll keep hammering it home all night. FC Tulsa, this is now game number 6 they've played, have conceded just 1 goal. So forward Madison will have to double up the total they've given up all year if they want to just come away with the equalizer tonight.
And it was that moment in matches where you know the next goal is going to make the biggest, a big difference in how this game plays out. You knew that if FC Tulsa was able to pull a second one, maybe this game begins to open up even more for them, because forward Madison is going to have to start pushing numbers forward. Maybe not necessarily here in the first half, but definitely to start the second half. If this game stays at 2-0, see them begin to push and play with urgency. Obviously, they've played with good energy here in the first 33 minutes, but have not rewarded themselves. But you felt if forward Madison was able to pull level and go 1-1, that could shift the dynamic as well. But it was FC Tulsa that has gone ahead and found that second goal.
Give the assist to Stefan Lukic, who entering tonight had made just 1 appearance that lasted 5 minutes in league play. Delivered a great ball to Khalil Elmedkar, who then finished it off. Elmedkar, one of the guys that they're looking for offensive production. Last 2 seasons with Loudoun, had back-to-back seasons of double-digit goals. Segris battling with Souza, and Souza able to clear it.
And this is where, for forward Madison, you hope that frustration doesn't settle in, because they recognize how explosive and dangerous they've been in the final third. They've been able to create some dangerous moments. They've been able to replicate that and sustain that. Obviously, they find themselves down 2-0, but if you could pull one back either before this break or early into that second half, I mean, this is a whole new ball game. And then for FC Tulsa, can you pull away and register a third goal? That's where forward Madison needs to be careful. You're going to live on that edge where you've got to push and pick the right moment to pull one back, but you also have to make sure that you don't concede a third, because that'll really make this a tougher mountain to climb.
Serrato is down. Looks like he's just retying his cleat. Dom from Calhera in the 21st made it 1-0. That was right after FC Tulsa had one taken away because of offside. And a little over 10 minutes later, Elmedkar on the feed from Lukic made it 2-0 to FC Tulsa. They are in control in this first half. Long throw in coming from Souza. It's an email for Boyce. Hale gets to it for Souza.
And I would dare to say, if FC Tulsa goes into the break up 2-0, that Luke Spencer and his group are not going to be overly pleased with how they've played defensively.
To the 18. Oh, that's one that Galindrez is going to want back. He had a great lane, great pace on that, but just could not put it on frame.
And he prepped it so well, putting it on that right foot. And it almost looked like FC Tulsa had given him too much space to tee this one up. Lens Pierre dropping off and giving Galindrez the offensive threat, the opportunity to take a shot on Brian Dowd, who's already come up big throughout this first half. but the last handful of chances for forward Madison have been off target. And that's what they did so well early on, was making sure that not only were they creating the opportunities, also making sure Brian Dowd was making a save.
Now Medcar trying to find Calhera, but they just could not connect there.
And as much as I think Luke Spencer and his group is not going to be overly pleased with their defensive performance, I also think that they're going to be pleased with how they've managed and navigated the ebbs and flows of this first 38 minutes, because they've absorbed some pressure, they've taken on some big chances, and still kept it at 2-0 and their opponent off the score sheet. But they have also picked out some extremely dangerous and big opportunities to go forward. So we see a yellow card being shown.
It's on Pierre. It's been a rough first half for him.
It has, and now you have your center back playing on a yellow, and we've already talked about that both these teams played their first round Open Cup matches with their opponents picking up red cards, whether it was a double yellow or straight red. So they're very familiar to how impactful a match can be, being a player up or a player down. So Pierre has to be careful, has to be measured, and we've already seen it, and we saw it with the Galindres opportunity, the isolation that happened, the 1v1, that duel that had presented itself. And you have your central center back in that isolated area in that 1v1. Now you've got to be extra careful, and for forward Madison, you've got to be wide-eyed looking at that matchup and wanting to go as much as they can central right at Pierre.
39th minute. Tulsa in control.
And this goes to what Luke Spencer had told us in terms of just the overall preparation, the approach, the messaging, what you look for going into an Open Cup match. And he said it was no different than what a regular season match would entail, which is preparing for the unknown and being prepared to be versatile, adaptable, flexible in what you're presenting and taking from the game. And that they've done. That's why they find themselves up.
Bit of a sluggish start for them, but you know, you come on the road, home side's a bit amped up, Open Cup situation. They're able to weather that storm. They really stamped their foot on this first half.
And that's why you hear a lot of people talk about, and you'll hear it all the time, goals change games, but I'll add in that the timing of those goals change games as well, because you look at forward Madison, if they tuck away one of those 2 to 3 opportunities that they created in the first 10, 15 minutes, you know, now FC Tulsa is the one chasing the match, but FC Tulsa had the one goal called off for offside, and besides that, they've executed at a high rate, made sure to convert their opportunities.
Calhera, Lukic, defending by Souza. It's all the way to Segrist. Plays it out there for Medcar, who has one of the 2 goals. Segrist. Serrato. Now it's Kali. Put into the area towards the back post. Segrist was making a run. He went down. Medcar follows up and nearly made it 3-0.
This is where FC Tulsa is picking and choosing situations where they can stack the box, and it's that second wave that falls to Medcar, just lashing this high and over the goal. But you always get different approaches from coaches in terms of statistics and data and how they implement the statistics, because I'll just say, if you look at the stats right now, the XG Forward Madison has a higher XG than FC Tulsa, and FC Tulsa's up 2-0. So that just highlights the amount of chances that Forward Madison are creating, and then the quality behind those chances.
They probably think they deserve at least one here in this half.
Absolutely.
You brought up the point earlier, against a team that doesn't concede really at all. How many more of those as the game wears on are you going to get that top quality of a chance?
Yeah, and that's something when you play a team that is as defensively structured as FC Tulsa. Now, they've given up big chances tonight. They have given up some opportunities where for Forward Madison, you look at, you say that might be available going forward still. But to your point, you do emphasize in the preparation that you have to convert those opportunities. Yeah. It adds that addition of being composed, being precise, being clinical, and knowing that if your number's called upon, tuck that chance away and redefine what this match looks like. And they have not been able to do that thus far.
It's a good kit matchup, at the very least. Love these colors here at Forward Madison. Black and gold, too, from FC Tulsa.
It is, and you always go back and forth, or I always go back and forth on investing in a kit, and Forward Madison just continues to impress with what they bring out. Might have to be my next one.
If anyone's listening.
Yeah.
Serrato has to retreat with it. So we're into the 45th minute. Dom and Elmedkar, the goal scorers for FC Tulsa. Here's Segrist trying to slide it through. Timmy Mail unsuccessful. Segrist battles for it back. Calhera there as well. Souza is whistled for the foul.
For Forward Madison, and it's going to be about trying to find a blend at the break of being critical of the performance in terms of there's areas that if you just fine-tune it and you just find that bit of detail or that bit of final action, you can absolutely change the narrative of this match. But also understanding that there's going to be areas that you've got to be able to slow down FC Tulsa, so you don't get overly frustrated with the performance thus far. There's still a lot of match out there.
That goes all the way over goal. Not sure if that was an attempt at goal or just kind of didn't put it where he wanted to.
Again, with a new goalkeeper starting in Finnerty, you just never know, to your point. You want to put anything on the goalkeeper and put numbers and traffic around, and you just never know if that traffic will cause a spill or a drop, and then you have the opportunity there, but you got to drop it before the goal. It can't go sailing over.
Finnerty will send it deep. Hard to blame him for either of the goals he allowed. Making his first start with Forward Madison. Lamar Batista. To errant for Patrick Segrist, and a throw in for Forward Madison. As you see, 3 minutes of stoppage time. Kali trying to spring Calhera. He gets there. Calhera looking for another. Finnerty aggressive. Had to be.
And decisive off his line, forcing Calhera to take that extra touch.
Heavy.
Yep. And just unable to scoop it over. Finnerty, terrific goalkeeping there. Keeping this at a 2-score game, and that would have been devastating if you would have conceded right before the break and made this 3-0. So doing what you need quality goalkeepers to do, which is make a big save. We've seen it on in the other box with Dowd. Seen Finnerty come up big, and none bigger than that save right there on Calhera, who's in form and clever with the ability to finish.
This may be a card. It will be. That's on Stefan Lukic. Dangerous tackle. We're still down for forward Madison. Takes one more look.
Right through the back.
I believe that's Garrett McLaughlin who took that. And that's not someone that forward Madison, given their injury issues right now, it's not someone they want to lose. Lukic checking on him, but I'm not sure McLaughlin wants to hear much from him right now.
I've got to hope that everything's okay and he's able to continue. He's an already injury-riddled forward Madison side. Done a good job tonight. See, find themselves in a 2-0 hole, but have proven to have the explosiveness and commitment to get forward and create. Now they just need the conversion.
Crowd here at Ford Madison, supporters of the Flamingos. You hear the chant. They wanted it to be a red card. Do you think they have a case?
I don't.
Or are fans just being fans?
Yeah, I think it's the fans just being fans. I think that is Lukic definitely earning a yellow card. I definitely don't think it warrants it straight red. You see the replay, and it looks like he catches him from the side and not even directly through the back, and just got to hope that McLaughlin didn't get his ankle caught in that tackle.
McLaughlin still being worked on. Former USL League One All-League performer. Won the league championship with NCFC in 2023. Looks like he will exit in favor of Derek Gebhardt. You need some offense, you need some lethal attack. Gebhardt not a bad guy to turn to. Had a brace in Forward Madison's win against Richmond Kickers within 8 minutes of each other. He's a Forward Madison veteran, more than 100 appearances with the club. He will come on here at the end of the first half for Garrett McLaughlin.
And you hate to see this for Forward Madison having to make a change in the first half. But you have the offensive threat of Derek Gebhardt.
Mac Glazer, as McLaughlin has to be helped off, not putting any weight on that left leg. Mac Glazer, got to be frustrating to lose another man dealing with the injury bug at the beginning of this season. And it only piles up.
Yeah, this is terrible to see. When you and you have these midweek games kind of in the middle of regular season, and you're dealing with the injuries that you've taken on already, you just never want to see those compounded with more, and you just want to see players, and I know through seasons and through the stacking of games, and when you have the Open Cup, when you have the Jägermeister Cup, you're going to take on an injury here and there, but you just hope that players can make it through a season healthy and fulfilling their dreams of playing a season, just continuing to grow into their performances. And now you see the
I can't even put the weight on it. They're going to put them on a golf cart. That is, I hate to see that. And I know you can't technically play the result here with the decision by the referee, but does this change at all how you felt about it, or are you still good with that being a yellow?
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% spot on. I think sometimes, most of the time, the end result you find influencing your emotions and your feelings towards the card. I still do believe that it is a yellow. Obviously, the contact and the timing resulting in McLaughlin having to come off, and that's something you never want to see.
Tough scenes. Matt Glazer, his head coach, who just gave him some words of encouragement. What else can you say in that spot?
And at that point, you don't even know the severity of it, so you're really just offering support. And
so Gebhardt is in, McLaughlin out due to the injury. Now forward Madison has to regroup. Already down 2-0 at home. Lost one of their better attacking players. Crazier things have happened to the Open Cup. Tall task against this FC Tulsa group.
Yeah, we've seen a couple 2-0 leads evaporate in the Open Cup already.
They say it's the most dangerous league.
Yep. But you mentioned it just a moment ago. I mean, the need to regroup for forward Madison. You already had to overcome the scoreline. Obviously now you've got your teammates playing with heavier hearts in terms of the injury to McLaughlin. So now regrouping in that sense.
Souza. Just think back to those opportunities early on that forward Madison had that they couldn't convert on. As we get the whistle for halftime here from Breese Stevens Field in Madison. A tough first half for the home side, but the visitors, FC Tulsa, fully in control with a 2-0 lead at the break.
And I would say that both sides are going to look at their structure defensively, because I think both sides are going to feel like there's moments out there to improve. For forward Madison, the ability to keep their distances and make sure they've got proper support, because both goals have come in from balls in behind. The assist from Calhera, ball in behind, and he was able to drive to the end line. And then the second goal, same thing, ball slipped in. And then for FC Tulsa, they've given up some big opportunities. The difference being right now is FC Tulsa's been clinical in theirs.
So at the half, goals by Dom and El Medkar have FC Tulsa ahead 2-0. Can they close it out and advance to the third round? Halftime here in Madison.
sorry about that one glitch. The camera I don't use very often, the shadows were crazy. I was trying to ride the iris levels. Got a little overzealous.
Welcome back to Breese Stevens Field, round 2 of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. 2-0 to FC Tulsa over Forward Madison as we get ready to start half number 2. Josh Appel, Eric Dobransky with you. And Eric, as we take a look at our first half highlights, Forward Madison had opportunities early to make their mark on this match.
It was a dynamic, explosive start for Forward Madison. This ball in behind, but Brian Dowd has come up big a number of times. 4 shots of their 7 on target for Forward Madison. This ball, over the top. The questions that they continued to ask of FC Tulsa, but FC Tulsa, this was the one that was called back for offside. Very tight, good timing, but this was an indication of FC Tulsa starting to build into this game.
And they responded well. This was the first goal of the night. Kalhara, the former stud with NYC FC2 of MLS Next Pro, found the streaking Owen Dom to make it 1-0.
And for FC Tulsa, they've had 2 shots on target and have converted both of them. This one knocked down at midfield. Now here it starts this play, and Medcar does the rest with tucking it past Finnerty.
And remember, El Medcar had the one waved off for offside. He's able to get it back. They are ready for the second half. Talked about it all night. FC Tulsa has only conceded 1 goal in their 5 total matches coming into tonight. So Forward Madison, who is without Garrett McLaughlin, he was carted off the field, replaced by Derek Gebhard, has a tough task in front of them these final 45 minutes as we are underway in half number 2 of round 2 of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, a berth in the 3rd round. Substitution for Forward Madison to begin the second half. Aiden Macias comes on to replace Devin Boyce. To begin half number 2, what do you make of that decision? That Boyce, one of their better attackers.
Yeah, and seemed to work extremely well in the attack. His teammates, that cohesiveness, that fluidity. He's able to work in that, operate in that half space. A number of dangerous chances for Forward Madison. But as we would expect coming out of the break, some changes and maybe provide FC Tulsa a different look. We're going to continue to harp on the ability for FC Tulsa to keep clean sheets. So you definitely have to break through, and that'll instill that belief that you could score a second one. So in order to get the second one, you've got to make sure that you continue to force the issue and convert the opportunity. We talked about it in the first 45. Not sure that you look at a match like this and you see yourself creating a ton of opportunities. You knew that you were going to have to create, you're going to have to convert the quality ones that you create for yourself, and that they have not. So now here in the second half, they're going to have to upgrade those chances and be clinical in those moments.
Whistle here goes against Forward Madison. So, Eric, what makes this defensive structure for FC Tulsa so difficult for teams to play against?
I think their second and third actions make it very difficult to play against, and I think Luke Spencer had alluded to this when we talked to him, was as a group and collectively, you're going to get broken. You're going to have the lines played through. You're going to have to recover. But it's where and how you recover that comes to define how difficult you are to play through defensively, as we see. Looks like Kalhara down.
Yeah, he collided with Eddie Manjoma. It's been quiet tonight for Forward Madison.
See this coming together. Players. Joma catching him with that right forearm, and an early free kick for FC Tulsa. But just quickly finishing up our point was, I think they're winning those second and third actions. They're hitting the spots and they're getting them in a timely manner.
Rogers whips it. Athletic play by Finnerty to punch it away. What have you made of his debut tonight with Forward Madison.
I was just about to say, I think he's had an overall good performance. I mean, I think he's had command of his box. He's made his presence known. He's made sure that the attacking players for FC Tulsa are fully aware that he is capable and willing and committed to meet those aerial challenges and meet them with the physicality that's necessary at this level. And I think he's definitely not at fault for those 2 goals. He's come up big with some saves of his own, but I definitely like the command for somebody that's making their first start and making it in a single elimination match. And this kind of pressure is done well.
Long free kick here for Forward Madison. They got Owen Dom for a foul. Mail. This time the whistle goes on Forward Madison.
Another foul on Calhera. Another aerial challenge, and then it's coming through from Mail. Forward Madison, there is no, you don't have to rush it. You don't have to, you could pick the right moment. You could pick the right opportunity.
Calhera gets taken down, point to the spot. Calhera earns the penalty. Owen Finnerty is incensed.
And as I say that, it was going to be prefaced with that you have to stay sharp defensively. You can't concede a third. You have to make sure that this game stays 2-0 and you give yourself the opportunity to pull one back. And this ball just makes its way through, and Calhera forcing Finnerty into that tackle and now earning the penalty.
Now the 24-year-old Finnerty has to regroup, put his emotions aside, and come up with a big stop to keep his team in it. It's Calhera, who assisted on the first goal, who will take it from the spot. No penalty attempts yet this season. The hesitation and the finish for Calhera. And FC Tulsa, even more insurance, a 3-0 advantage early in half number 2.
And Calhera continuing his form of impacting and influencing matches. See this ball played through, and it just sneaks its way in behind Forward Madison, and Finnerty quick off his line. And then the penalty, the delay there at the end, and the composure to tuck this away, and the distance that FC Tulsa was looking for.
You wonder, Eric, as FC Tulsa has 3 tonight, plenty of time to potentially add more. Just for them to see the ball hit twine, it's got to give them some confidence in that regard. They already, as we talked about, playing tonight. They don't concede very much, but there's one bugaboo they've still had. It's finishing their chances.
Yeah, 100%. When you can see the ball hit the back of the net, that breeds that confidence, that ability to buy into the runs that you're making. Because a lot of the cohesiveness and the relationships that you're building in the final third are the buy-in of what each run means for each other. So sometimes you're making that near post run knowing full well that you are not on the receiving end. You're opening that just like the Owen Dom goal. Those near and far post runs that you know that you're not going to be on the receiving end of it, but you're occupying defenders, you're taking in dangerous space, and you're opening up an area for your own teammate to upgrade and score a goal. Those are those relationships that, to your point, when not only you see the ball hit the back of the net, it reinforces all that movement, all that work that you've been putting in. And we've seen it already early on in the season, regular season translating into Open Cup, not only results, but scoring goals and that offensive prowess translate.
Well, Madison really up against it now at home. Finnerty was way off his line, somewhere off camera.
I don't know if he was looking to provide support or...
A little early for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to take a second take because I didn't know he was out of the picture. And
by the way, the third round draw will take place tomorrow. Our colleagues Joe Malfa and Jamie Watson will have that for you. And then from rounds 3 and on, you can watch the rest of the U.S. Open Cup, CBS platforms. Right out to the outside. But towards the back post. Gebhard. Turns. Gebhard. Never got all the way through. Joma for Gebhard. Now it's Krull for Mail. Macias got it where he wanted to. Flag is up. And it's going the other way.
And FC Tulsa knows that they're still in for an incredibly difficult fight for 35 minutes. They know that they're going to get forward Madison's best. They're going to continue to be offensively dangerous and try to create that moment, because for forward Madison, I know the scoreline's 3-0, but there's positives out there. There's the ability to stack moments here in the second half, and it starts with one goal. And obviously for FC Tulsa, they're going to be looking at wanting to keep another clean sheet. Can you break that trend? See, continue to build in and layer in a performance for forward Madison.
They will have a tough time matching that 2019 outing in the Open Cup. They beat USL Championship side El Paso Locomotive to reach the third round. They'll need an offensive onslaught in the final 35 minutes here. Last year they beat Duluth FC like they did this year in the first round. And they lost 2-0 to Chicago Fire 2 out of Next Pro in round 2. They're hoping to avoid a back-to-back years of a shutout in the second round. I mentioned the goal scoring issues for FC Tulsa, but their 33 last year was one of the lowest totals in USL Championship. But if you can, again, that team has such a high, they have such a high ceiling. If they can figure out a way just to be kind of in the middle of the pack in scoring in USL Championship, they don't have to blow anybody out of the water because of how they play defensively.
Yeah, that defensive structure will be crucial to what they want to accomplish throughout the season. But to your point, can you complement it? Can you enhance that defensive structure and be dangerous in that box? And you'll hear a lot of coaches and a lot of teams talk about that defensive structure leading into attacking moments, and some of the best attacking moments being from the areas in which you win possession. Can you regain possession higher up the field? This also plays into pressing cues collectively. Where can you effectively hurt opponents? And that's something for FC Tulsa is going to continue to be kind of grown in and built in through their season.
Corner coming for FC Tulsa. Comes all the way down in front. Nobody in black could get to it. And Elmedkar is going to get Elmedkarded. Thank you.
You were waiting for that all night, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah, and I think some of these, these yellow cards that they've picked up for FC Tulsa in that transition moment, clearly just trying to stop forward Madison from getting any sort of momentum going forward. Don't want to let them back in because obviously only approaching the 60th minute. Still so much time that if you concede and this game becomes 3-1, the energy shifts. Leave yourself a lot of time available to get back in this match. But we have not seen some of the big play opportunities that we saw from forward Madison in the first half here to begin the second.
Tough foul there on Giordano Colli. He doesn't agree with it. Long free kick coming for forward Madison. They'll just get it started and put it in play with John Murphy Jr. He tried to switch and nobody was there. Macias couldn't keep it alive for forward Madison. We reached the 60th minute here at Breese Stevens Field.
And now Luke Spencer is going to get a front row seat to see how his team manages a multiple goal lead.
On the road.
Yep.
This is Lukic, has 1 assist. Looking for another, but.
Yeah, he wanted all of that play there. He went for the home run.
Dom from Calhera in the 21st minute made it 1-0. Elmedkar from Lukic in the 32nd made it 2-0. And then Calhera with his second goal contribution and first goal of the match on a penalty in the 51st minute. So we're at where we are. Joma, he's been quiet. Murphy Jr. Flag was up there for offside.
One of Luke Spencer's primary concerns coming into the matchup, obviously slowing down the attacking presence of forward Madison, but his concern of how dangerous they are on set pieces and his team's ability to defend those, and the best way to defend them is not concede them, and that's where they've done a terrific job. Early on, they had to deal with a lot of defending corners as forward Madison was getting in on that end line and creating.
Joma the only one there for that pass. Forward Madison looked to be away with it. They give it right back. Calhera, he goes down, earns the foul. He's a bit slow to get up.
And conversely, forward Madison has had to deal with some free kicks here in their own half in this second half, as we see a number of subs on each side about to come in.
So we'll relay these to you as they come on. So we'll start with FC Tulsa. So Khalil Elmedkar, who scored the second goal, will exit in favor of Stefan Stojanovic. Another Stefan, Lukic, who had an assist in this match, he exits for Boubacar Diallo. And then Harvey St. Clair will come on for Owen Dom, who's got the scoring started in the 21st minute. FC Tulsa, Sinclair, Diallo, and Stojanovic in for Elmedkar, Lukic, and Dom. And then for forward Madison, Christopher Garcia will enter for Nico Brown. And then Nazim Bartman will come on for Ferdi Souza. Bartman in his fourth season with forward Madison suffered a season-ending injury last year. The fellow University of South Florida alum. Shout out to the Bulls there. Christopher Garcia in his first season with Forward Madison. He was with Austin FC 2 and MLS Next Pro on loan a year ago. Here it comes on goal, and Finnerty able to corral that. Najoma. That's just a giveaway. Not really sure what the plan was there. He started to carry it upfield. 3 black shirts convened on him, and then he let it go to nobody.
Yeah, it's always dangerous when you have a defender dribbling out of the back and looking to be the playmaker, but take away all the options. Eliminates that opportunity and ability to break lines. And I think FC Tulsa has done a better job here in the second half of being detailed defensively. And for those that watched them against Sacramento Republic on Friday, it was kind of a similar performance.
Laid off to the outside. Put towards goal, big save. Diving to his right by Brian Dowd. Keeps the clean sheet intact. Challenge out for a throw-in for FC Tulsa.
First big chance of the second half for Forward Madison. He is on his left foot, curling it around the defenders and forcing Brian Dowd into another big stop. And I know this is going to continue to sound redundant, and knowing that the scoreline is 3-0, but I mean, Forward Madison has to feel like they should have a goal or two on the board with the chances that they've created and the opportunities that they've put themselves in front of Brian Dowd and in FC Tulsa's 18-yard box. And so I know it's gonna sound harsh to say that they feel like they've created and they should be happy with what they've created. And sometimes it's even more frustrating when you know that you've created but you just haven't executed, because you feel like you left something out there. But and for Glazer and his side, they can definitely pick out some moments and game-changing moments that you just find a bit more composure or a bit more of the final action they're looking for. Change the narrative early. Now we get the free kick. See if Forward Madison can put FC Tulsa under pressure here.
Free kick coming. Forward Madison. Galindrez who went down.
Just a ball that got away from Serrato. Now in that area where it is a bit far to beat Brian Dowd, but you've got the two options. You can go and take one on frame, or you can just clip it right over this defensive line and put it up for your teammates.
It's Kroll towards that back post, put out in front, and Forward Madison is on the board. They have life with a little over 20 minutes left.
And set pieces like this are so much more difficult to execute than people may think. The timing of not only the run, but that ball played over the top have to be absolutely perfect, because so much of the time you see those plays called offside because the run leaves a split second too early or the delivery is a split second too late.
How about making an impact on the game if you're Nazim Bartman, you just came on. He gives his team a jolt.
Yeah, and a jolt with plenty of time left. You've got over 20 minutes. Now, you do have to stack some urgency and you have to stack some big moments, but that is the way to get your team started and ramp up the pressure on FC Tulsa.
This looks like Timmy Mail who's down. Remember earlier, Garrett McLaughlin was carted off with an apparent leg injury.
Mail's physical involvement in some of these aerial duels have been really important for forward Madison. See him colliding with an FC Tulsa player.
I don't know if it was the initial contact of the head or if it was maybe the impact of the turf when he went down. Either way, an ugly collision. You see him up onto his feet.
And for forward Madison, can you build upon that goal? You've broken through a team that has only allowed 1 goal all season thus far. You have them rattled in terms of there's questions being asked, there's discussions being had, and that 5 minutes, those few moments right after scoring a goal, can you continue to play on that front foot? Can you continue to ask those challenging questions to FC Tulsa?
Dealt with that danger, out for a throw-in.
And we see it so much of the time. Teams that are unable, not creating the chance, but unable to break through in the run of play or in that chance creation, find the breakthrough and find the kickstart in set pieces. And that's something for forward Madison that obviously going to the match, I mentioned it just a few moments ago, Luke Spencer was concerned about going to this area, winning the duels in those set pieces, winning those matchups, kind of limiting what forward Madison was able to do. And yeah, first class example of how dangerous they can be, and now can they parlay this into another goal? And if you can pull within a goal by the 80th minute,
that things get really interesting.
Talk about pushing this game to a frenzied pace. You make this a 3-2 game by the 80th minute, 10 minutes is plenty of time.
Card's going to come out here. Diallo is going to get booked.
Just coming through Njoma late. Ball has already popped off Njoma's foot. Diallo, just the recent substitute, picking up the yellow card.
Fourth yellow that has been issued to a Tulsa player tonight. Track down in the corner. Bartman got forward Madison a little bit of life. Coming off the bench.
And to your point about the yellows, Delence Pierre has done a good job of playing measured at that center back position.
Since the start.
Yeah, since the start. He got that early yellow. It seemed like he was a bit off to start this match, and he's settled in quite well and has some heavy involvement here with the way that this back line is played throughout the second half.
Tulsa on the move, looking to get back to that 3-goal advantage. St. Clair waits on it, goes down, and they'll get the foul on Garcia from behind.
And I know Garcia's just trying to make a play on the ball, but his team just did a terrific job of defending that sequence. Quick transition moment, they slowed the ball and the play down well enough to regain possession or at least make it a 50-50 opportunity. And you go through the back and you concede a deep free kick. And besides that, you're seeing precious time come off the clock.
So Rogers feeds it in over everybody. It's Batista. Flicked again, cleared away by forward Madison. Segrist back for Batista. Batista using that big frame. Look at that, 1-on-2, he keeps possession. Flick back in, Diallo took an attempt. I think his own man Calhera blocked it.
That would have been special if you saw that battle out wide turn into something dangerous in front of goal. Tremendous effort. Batista. FC Tulsa is going to be in no rush from any of these restarts.
St. Clair. And Calhera, looks like he got caught a bit. Thankfully he's all right, at least for the purposes of FC Tulsa. Flag came up there for offside. '75th minute. Dom, Almedkar, and Calhera the scorers for FC Tulsa. Nazim Bartman the goal scorer for forward Madison. Najoma, one touch, inaccurate, St. Clair. That's a foul and a card. John Murphy picks up the yellow. And Calhera, unhappy, has some words for Murphy.
I mentioned for forward Madison, could they carry momentum and put FC Tulsa under pressure after scoring that goal? As we see the foul on Murphy. But for FC Tulsa, they've weathered that storm. They've gotten out of that first 5 to 8 minutes unscathed, not conceding another goal. Now they're going to look at every moment that they could take precious time off the clock, slow this game down, take the air out of the ball. Obviously, if there's an opportunity there that they can go and have, they're going to take it. A team that does not beat themselves will not look to turn the ball over or provide any transition opportunity for forward Madison that have showcased that imagination and that quality going forward, just not been able to reward themselves in the goals.
Giordano Colli, who was down, he's up onto his feet. Madison gets it in play. C is trying to get there, but he's cut off well by Arthur Rogers and Lamar Batista, and then it's cleared away.
You still don't have to force the issue if you're forward Madison, but it is creeping up on that time where got to commit further numbers. Done a good job of playing with urgency and that blend of patience in the build, but now you've got to break through.
Kept alive. Macias for Garcia. Big save by Dowd. A massive one to keep this at a 2-goal game. But a corner coming for forward Madison. This one almost got really interesting.
My goodness. The ball played into Garcia was magnificent, but it was just met by a terrific save. Got to deal with this corner.
And it just goes wide.
If there is anybody that has their fingerprint all over this game, if this result holds, it is Brian Dowd.
Sinclair with a poor clearing attempt. Macias will pop forward for Garcia, and with that outstretched left leg, wow.
And making first contact on the ensuing corner.
You said it, they need one around the 80-minute mark to pull within a goal to really give themselves a shot. So many of those types of chances, especially when you think about the first 15, 20 minutes of the first half. I just wonder if they could have converted on one of those, how much different things might have gone.
And how massive an impact that Brian Dowd has had.
No doubt, yep.
I mean, even if you just concede one of those opportunities that you faced, I mean, this game is different.
See, he's made 6 saves tonight. He's only made 1 start coming in it today. The 6th overall pick by Chicago Fire in the 2024 MLS Super Draft. Johan Peñaranda, normally the starter. Dowd showing that FC Tulsa is in great hands with their other option at keeper.
And that's the other thing that you need to see from teams and organizations that have the ambition that both these teams have, and obviously FC Tulsa on the defensive side and now building into the attack.
Flag was up here for offside. Garindrez got a little too eager.
Is the depth to sustain the sort of season that you need to be dangerous throughout, week in and week out.
Now, player down for FC Tulsa. Looks like just cramps here.
I think it always is big for teams to know that, as we see the replay here,
it's Diallo.
It's like just backtracking and maybe came up.
Correction, that's Pierre. Pierre, as you can see, just stops and goes down.
Going back to Brian Dowd, always so important to know that in those moments that you break down defensively, and it's going to happen. This game of football is so fluid and so ever-changing that you know you're going to give up chances, that you have a goalkeeper, as FC Tulsa have 2 that can come up big, as Peñaranda has been named the USL Team of the Week a number of times, has been big with clean sheets, as we see Sissoko entering.
Sissoko to enter for Pierre, who you just saw go down. Defensive change for this final push to the finish. Cleared away by Madison. Serrato. Now for a throw-in for FC Tulsa. Again, the 3rd round draw will be tomorrow. Joe Malfa, Jamie Watson will bring that to you on the US Soccer YouTube. And then round 3 and on, find it CBS family of networks. FC Tulsa can protect this 2-goal lead. They'll be on to round 3. For Madison, though, determined to make this a game here in the final stretch. Gebhardt. Joma. Now Kroll. To the middle, Joma. Murphy trying to track it down. He gets there. St. Clair watching him. Back heel flip to St. Clair of all people. Joma over there, though, gets it back for forward Madison. And then lost it. And a throw in here for forward Madison. First, the substitution for the Mingos. Jackson Dietrich is on to replace John Murphy. Dietrich in his first season with forward Madison was with Northern Colorado Hailstorm last year. Very good at distributing. A few guys from that Northern Colorado team that have made their way over here to Madison this year.
And Arthur Rogers from FC Tulsa, a Northern Colorado, former Northern Colorado player and former League One Defender of the Year back-to-back, 2022, 2023.
Fifth minute, certainly will have some added time at the end.
I was just about to say, you're probably going to see a good portion of added time here at the end. So if you could score before the 90th minute or around the 90th minute, you're probably going to have 5+ so minutes to get an equalizer.
That next one's got to come, and it's got to come soon.
Yep. We see a couple of our other Open Cup matches level. It's like
Rogers, sorry to cut you off. Rogers battling for position, lost it. Play rolls on.
Looks like Portland Hearts of Pine and Hartford Athletic are going to penalties. Ended extra time 1-1. With both teams scoring in extra time, so ending regulation at 0-0. Chattanooga and Chattanooga Red Wolves are level at 1-1.
Gallo stepped up. FC Tulsa on the counter. Colley put it wide. That surely would have iced it. And if you're FC Tulsa, you just gotta hope that one doesn't come back to bite you.
Just needed a bit more shape, and credit to Finnerty for making his way to his left and making this a difficult shot. Just lacked the shape to bury that fourth goal.
That's an example of what we were talking about earlier, where FC Tulsa this season has had
Yep.
quality chances but have not been able to finish. Of course, tonight they have 3, but should have 4.
I think as much as we've talked about FC Tulsa on the attacking box and the chances they're creating and converting and how sustainable it is through the Open Cup run and through regular season, I would gotta believe that forward Madison is going to continue to ask the same questions, creating, obviously held scoreless.
Uh-oh. We don't want to see this. And now a red's been shown. Diallo is sent off.
He's sitting on that yellow already.
Yep. His second one. Now things really getting interesting. See what happened.
Looks like he catches with the right elbow.
Man, he would have been fine.
Yep.
Would not have been carded if he didn't lean down and say something at the end of that. Diallo's got to keep his cool there. Just an unnecessary second yellow.
Yeah, you make an excellent point because it didn't look like the referee was reaching for his pocket from the call itself. Diallo pretty much brought that upon himself with the extra words at the end.
So now you think back. Now playing with 10 men. Here it comes into the area. Just wide from Gebhardt. We talk about Colley's chance moments ago. Then the second yellow for Diallo, which causes him to be sent off. And now forward Madison.
They're knocking on the door.
Yeah, I mean, how many more chances, though, are they going to get like that?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be an FC Tulsa match in the Open Cup this year, at least, without somebody on one of the two sides getting a red. They played up a man last week.
And you know what's fascinating is that we've seen it throughout the first, especially the first round of Open Cup. We saw a lot of teams go pick up red cards and play against teams that picked up red cards. I mean, it's kind of prevalent throughout that first round and impacted a lot of matches.
Remember, Madison also played up a man late last week, and that's when the onslaught really started for them.
Yeah, so we've seen
in the first round, not last week.
Yeah. We've seen it. Obviously, this one coming late, and with FC Tulsa with a 2-goal lead, but we've seen it define games and it pull momentum back for the team playing up a player, and see if forward Madison can mount some sort of comeback.
It's got to start with one. It's got to start with getting possession. Getting word that we have another cup set. Portland Hearts of Pine take down Hartford in PKs. Hearts of Pine on to round 3. Hartford back to USL Championship League play. So 5 minutes of added time. Separates FC Tulsa down a man in the third round of the Open Cup. Diallo, a second yellow in the 88th. An ill-advised, unnecessary action. Not have drawn the second yellow from the initial foul, but it's the taunting after the fact. That's where he said to the player from forward Madison, got him that second yellow.
You talk to so many coaches, sorry Josh, you talk to so many coaches about the Open Cup and the performances, and it is that mentality of whatever performance allows you to advance. And for Luke Spencer, I know that his group's going to be disappointed with not finishing this match with a clean sheet and conceding on the free kick. But however you can see this match out, obviously you're also going to be disappointed with the red card, as you mentioned, seeing another yellow. I think that's where the frustration is going to come in, and that's where I was getting at was you look at the free kick, okay, you concede the goal, but I think some of the needless yellows that have kind of accumulated here towards the end, some of the choppiness that has kind of introduced itself into this match.
So it's on Macias. He was given an earful. The referee has been busy booking people tonight. Foul on Tulsa. Time running out. Up a man. Forward Madison. And they pull off the miracle. Macias goes over the top, too far, and it is. Now for a goal kick. You would imagine that Brian Dowd, who's been phenomenal tonight, will take his sweet time.
Yeah, no rush to get this ball in play. Switch to the other side of the 6-yard box. Set up. You can reset up and talk about taking on yellows. This is sometimes where you you want to force the referee to put the ball back in play.
Calhera had that deflect off him for a throw-in for Madison. Got to turn up the urgency a bit. Finnerty creeping up behind there. 5 minutes of added time. Joma too heavy on that touch. We'll have to reset it with another throw-in.
Yeah, this is going to fall short of that quote-unquote complete performance that FC Tulsa, you know, on both these sides were looking for going into this match. But again, finding yourself advancing is the important piece, and you got to imagine as we see the time tick away and this result coming closer and closer to being final, that this has got to add to kind of what we've already seen as a special start to this season for FC Tulsa and Luke Spencer's side.
Tulsa, one whistle away, advancing to the third round. Not this whistle. This is another card, and it's on Christopher Garcia. And Rogers has to be held back, and this has gotten pretty chippy here in the second half.
You gotta believe that this is gonna be one of the final plays of the match once this dead ball is put back in play as we see the tackle.
You can see why Rogers was frustrated there. By the way, Tulsa, a round closer to matching their success in this tournament last year. They made it all the way to the 5th round in 2024. And there is the final whistle. FC Tulsa are through to the third round. Forward Madison's bid ends in round 2. The final score tonight, FC Tulsa 3, Forward Madison 1.
And I think you look at two teams that created quality opportunities for FC Tulsa, they converted them, and that's what sees them advancing. I think they made some big plays defensively. Obviously, Brian Dowd came up massive in some key moments and kept this game scoreless early, and then obviously kept this game from Forward Madison cutting into that lead. But again, credit to FC Tulsa, not only creating the chances, but converting.
They will await the draw for the third round tomorrow to find out who they will face in round number 3. But let's take a look at how they earned the win here tonight. 3-1. Here's where it all got started.
Yeah, this is shortly after some big chances from Forward Madison that Brian Dowd had saved, and then this ball played in to Ondam, that late run, and a lot of credit to the occupation and occupying that dangerous space in those areas in and around goal from FC Tulsa. And this ball slipped in. Ahmedkar does all of the rest, the composure and the clinical finish. This ball slipped in from behind again. Calhera forcing Finnerty into the tackle and then converts the penalty as well.
He had a goal and an assist. Forward Madison made some noise late off the free kick, off the bench. Nazim Bartman gave Forward Madison some life, but that was all they could muster. Here was the second yellow on Diallo. If you look, referee's coming over just calling a foul with no card. Diallo unhappy with that, and then he has words, which earns him his second yellow and earns him a trip to the shower.
And unnecessary to end your night on that in terms of just walk away. And then the stats obviously loud for Forward Madison.
Yeah.
14 shots, 7 on target. Obviously the 6 saves for Brian Dowd, and you see the possession numbers. Obviously that gets a bit more tilted when you have a team playing with the lead and you're going to concede possession, but naturally that's what Forward Madison did see a lot of the ball to begin with, but just unable to convert those 7 chances on target. And for FC Tulsa, 3 chances on frame and converted all 3.
Brian Dowd, fantastic in goal for FC Tulsa. They concede 1 tonight. Their total in all competitions, that's 2. Little leaky FC Tulsa. Just playing. Great performance for them on the road. 3-1 the final. FC Tulsa are through to round 3. For Eric Dobransky and our entire U.S. Open Cup crew, this is Josh Appel saying so long. We'll see you in round 3. Enjoy the rest of your night.